Very rarely do people ask me to check out their music on Instagram, and I will come back with a positive review. And unfortunately, that streak hasn't been broken. But I do have some positive things to say about the person who reached out to me about their music. So the other week, this rapper named Dezz asked me to check out his album, The Church Volume 1, in advance of his release of a new project. He didn't really give me the name, I don't think so, but he wanted me to check out his music. And so I did, ready to hear, not slop, but slop. And I was kind of surprised. What I heard was potential for actual music. Now, I am not against new artists, up-and-coming artists, or anything like that. In fact, the only artist who's gotten a straight up 10 out of 10 is an artist who doesn't have many listeners, Christian Brading. So to say that I'm against small artists is ridiculous. Just a lot of these super small artists tend to be small for a reason. It's because they're kind of cringe normally. So normally I check out their stuff anyway if they ask, but I have a low expectation for it. I had a low expectation for this guy's music, but then I heard it and I was like, yo, this ain't bad. And then I kept hearing it. And it wasn't bad. I think I'm already gonna dive into what was wrong. And basically this thing that I'm about to jump into here, this covers the entire album. This is the problem with the entire album. The problem with the song he sent me, which I believe was called Evangelizing the Trap, was that although he had great lyrical content, he's just sharing his testimony throughout these songs, and it's not bad. Great lyrical content all around, but great content does not cover everything. You need to have an artistic and technical excellence that comes along with that great lyrical content that we Christians can have. Unfortunately, those things aren't there because the song is very boring. And this is the problem you will find throughout Dezz's album. It's very, very boring. We'll put it this way. For pretty much all of the songs, no, not pretty much, all of the songs, I started them, went, wow, we're on to something here. And then 2 minutes later, I was like, this song is still going? Not many drum beats were added, just, still calm beats. Actually, not even beats. It was just either guitar strings or some type of instrument that was very one note. And actually, that's a good word to describe the album, very one note. It's the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And for a listener, that is the opposite of what you want. You want something to bring that listener back, and we don't get that here. I didn't get that here. The closest I got to that was a song called Fatherless, where it actually had a really nice melody and a really good hook that was actually low-key catchy, and I kept wanting to return to it because I was like, this is something I might add to my library. But the song was so long that by the time it ended, that hook overstayed its welcome, and I didn't want to return back to it. It was just done. I was done with it. This is the problem that the album faces. Once again, it's too long, too boring. Some songs go for 5 minutes. Some songs go for 5 minutes and 45 seconds. That in itself, that's already too long. I'm not one of those TikTok generations where my attention span is 5 seconds. I can listen to something if it's art. My favorite song is Runaway by Kanye West, a 10-minute song, and I can listen to that no problem. But there has to be something that's keeping me there. For Runaway, it's a mix of everything. The lyrical content, the story, the beautiful production, the technique that goes into it. Everything about that song is perfect, and it's what draws me in and makes me listen to it every time. Here, you have one element of Fatherless, for example. Great song, great melody. You have one thing working for you, the melody. That's it. Dezz is not trying any techniques on his rap. He could have rhymed, I forgot if he did, but it just sounded like somebody was talking, put a little bit of auto-tune on that, made it try and sound like a rappable flow, kind of like what NF did for his Hope album, and put it in a song, and voila, there you go. And unfortunately, that's not too much of a song. Now, what I will say is that Dezz, if you're watching this, bro, you got potential. Because I did hear, I was like, if this guy just, you know, adds a little bit of technique, adds a little bit of, you know, beats, and maybe changes some flows, does some switch ups, adds some alliteration, some rhyming, some all of that, along with that great content, you got it. Like, this is something that I would listen to then, and I would add it to my library, no problem. But as is, no, I wouldn't. Not really. If you're a huge fan of CHH, or, you know, you just want to hear someone's testimony and you don't care if that's presented in a bad way, and by bad way, I mean it's not artistically done or done in technical excellence. If you don't care about that type of stuff, then this is the album for you. You're gonna love it. As far as I go, I listen to music because it's artistic qualities and artistic value. That's why I listen to music. Also, you know, I listen to music because of things like catchiness, technique, and all that. Which even all that, sometimes I'm not when I listen to music, sometimes I'm not thinking about the technique or the artistic value of it. Sometimes I'm thinking about nothing. You know, I'm just listening to something because it's catchy. But once you pull back those layers, you realize the catchiness of it is technique. So yes, you always, as an artist, as a writer, as, you know, a music producer, you always need to put technique. That needs to be your first and last thought when making a song. You cannot just go, you know, I want to put a story out. I want to, you know, share my testimony and put that to music. Voila. Because then you have nothing. So yeah, shout out Dezz, The Church, Volume 1. I don't know the name of his new album, but keep an eye out for that. I hope that he, you know, switches some flows, adds some sick beats, puts in some technique, alliteration, you know. Ty Brazel was doing a series on it on Instagram a while ago, like something about a technique for rap. Just do one of those and it won't be that bad. Okay? Yeah. There's only two things I know. I know that Jesus is king and that JT Moi knows best. See you guys next time.